Welcome to the Jerry Pujals Project 2.0 podcast, where we bring you insightful conversations with experts in various fields. In today's episode, we're excited to have Kevin Holman, the owner and head instructor of the Red Dragon Karate School in Napa, California. With over 30 years of experience in martial arts and having taught thousands of students, Kevin is a highly respected instructor who has made a significant impact on the martial arts community. One of Kevin's unique abilities is his talent for connecting with children and teaching them their first lessons in karate. He has a gift for making kids feel confident and empowered while learning this ancient art. I've seen firsthand how Kevin can inspire kids to break their first board, and it's an amazing to see the twinkle in their eyes when they accomplish this feat. As Kevin says to his students after they break their first board, do you believe now that you can do or accomplish anything? This moment is truly transformative and is a testament to Kevin's dedication to his craft and his community. In addition to his work with children, Kevin also teaches women and men self-defense and weapons handling. He studied and brought back martial arts from around the world to add to his curriculum, providing his students with a well-rounded and effective approach to self-defense. We're thrilled to have on the podcast today and to share his insights and experience, Kevin Holman. But before we get started, we would like to ask you to consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when we're releasing new episodes and help support our channel's growth. So I want to just thank you for your support. And now let's dive into the conversation with Kevin Holman. So now we are recording.
Oh, cool.
Now we are recording. So to say that to me this feels serendipitous and long overdue is kind of a cool thing because I just, sometimes you just don't know how paths can cross. And, I was trying to think of, I mentioned to you that I had an interview with a buddy of mine who's a quasi-physical therapist, trainer. He's helped a lot of people, and then it went so well and so many people reacted positively to that then I started thinking of who in my world do I know that is somebody that without an agenda I'd have fun getting to know a little better. And you were like one of the top 3 names that came to my mind that fast, just so you know.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like that. I called another buddy of mine. His name coincidentally is Kevin, so hopefully he's watching this and he maybe he'll understand a little bit more of the premise as to why I even called him, because this other Kevin's reaction, who I think is just a super accomplished guy too, and done some things for himself in the way of health and wellness and the way that he sees. I mean, this is the kind of guy that I bought myself this super high-end road bike, and I'm like, let me go check in with Kevin because I know he'll teach me how to use this super high-end road bike that I bought myself. And I wasn't making it to his house on time. I said, I'm running a little late. And he says, hey man, don't worry about it. Take your time. I'll go out and I'll get a warm-up run before we go on our bike ride. And in my mind, I think of any human being that says a warm-up run, you might go out and run a couple of miles. When I had gotten back to his house, I think he just ran 15 miles. That was his warm-up run.
And then he's going to go on a bike ride.
And then he's going to go on a 50-mile bike ride with me. Yeah. And I remember on that bike ride, I got 2 flat tires on that bike ride. And I said, oh, great. All I got to do is call Susan. He said, cyclists don't call Susan.
Yeah, we fix it.
We fix the tire here and we keep riding. And I never understood that. So that's how his mind works. I know that your mind kind of works. Again, I only know you as far as what I've heard from people, which has always been glowing and positive because you've helped so many kids and so many people in the community in the realm of martial arts. I also know you from following some of the pictures people post about you in different places in the world at different times where you've learned from others in the disciplines that you've ventured into. I also know very little about martial arts. I've tipped my toe in only because of being a young guy out on the streets of New York City. I couldn't stay with something long enough to be able to afford it. I wasn't, and I never found a mentor.
That's the way I was too. We couldn't afford it.
You couldn't afford it.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we could not afford
I took Shotokan in Manhattan, and to stay in classes for Shotokan, and the classes were so huge. There were hundreds of students, so it wasn't like the sensei was going to take a liking to you and see that you were trying. He couldn't even see you. There were so many people in those. So, but I've always had an affinity or an interest. Marty's one of my best friends. Yeah. Marty is, Marty's tried to teach me as much as he could. Marty has watched me get hot with people, and he's like, "You're gonna get your ass kicked, man. Just stop it. Stop it." Because there is such a difference between knowing how to fight and protect yourself, and also knowing how to fight and just scrap, which is not knowing how to fight. I've also been this is crazy for you. I used to be a bouncer at a strip joint in Manhattan, Midtown Manhattan, when I was 18 years old. My cousins were all big guys. They're all over 6'3". Yeah. They use the term tiny bouncer. They were like, "You must have been a tiny bouncer because you're not very big." But
I was a bouncer.
Okay, so I've been
a couple of places.
So I've been experienced with guys like you and seeing how you treat people. The bouncers, I had a bouncer from Brazil, a buddy of mine who was at the club, and he wouldn't demolish people. But, he wouldn't want to hurt people. He really wanted to just diffuse the situation. He was so confident that he didn't have to be like me. He didn't have to sucker punch somebody to win the fight. Yeah. He could diffuse. So I love to go into all those topics, but I have one question for you. And I talked to Jerry Jr. about it. I love to know where you came from. Seriously, I love to know kind of what was your childhood like, because I dropped a little bit of how mine was like, but
well, so there's so much, Jerry. I'm going to try to hit on some good points that I think. So first off, I'll get this right out of the gate. I do not know my biological father.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know that. So bam.
There it is.
I don't know my biological father. But my stepdad took over when I was 1 year old. Met my mother. They were both in bands, and she was managing a bar, and he was in the band, and she was a singer, and they met that way. And he took over, and he was the best dad. And dad, I don't even call him stepdad. He was the best dad, period. We did everything together. I dressed like him. He was a cowboy, rodeo. He was a bull rider. Oh man, we did everything. I got a little cowboy hat and shorts pictures, stuff like that. We did everything together. Worked on his car together. He took me to work with him. He really was my dad. I actually gave him credit. He passed away a few years back, but I gave him credit for how I am with children because of the way he was with me. And he was just awesome. He was awesome. Yeah. It didn't work out with him and my mother when we were there about 11, when I was about 11, sorry. They got a divorce. And then things got a little crazy. So we were always, I guess we never had any money.
Were you local?
No. So they met here, but then they moved back to Iowa, where he was from. And my mom was from Louisiana. So we spent time in Iowa and Louisiana and back to Iowa. And then one day we made it out here, Napa, California. And then they got divorced about a year after that. And we were in Concord. So we came back to Napa, and my dad remarried and went down that path. But what he had done for me up till that time, 11 years old, was incredible. Incredible, man. Really good stuff. So, and you never realize that until you get older. But I did write him a letter before he passed. We didn't talk for a while, and because his family now was his family, it was just different. And I wrote him a letter, though, how I thought about him, and thank you for doing that for me, and thank you for being there for me, and you didn't have to do that, and you accepted me like your own. I mean, it was pretty incredible. And one of my other friends said, "Yeah, man, you're lucky. Our stepdad used to beat us." I was like, "Whoa, really? Wow." He was so loving and caring to me, so I lucked out, right? And anyway, I wrote him that letter, and he called me and said it was the best letter he thought he ever got. It was just amazing. And he came and saw me a couple of years before he passed away. He lived in Wyoming, so he came and saw me. Just drove out like an old cowboy. He had these stickers on his truck, says "Cowboy Up" and all this old cowboy. He's like 80 years old, He's still driving his truck. It's just funny. So they split, and then now the chaos started because mother, single mom. She had worked at night.
How many kids were you?
3. I got 2 sisters. They're older. but one was off at college back in Iowa or back in Nebraska. She wanted to go to college back there because she grew up there. The other one was, here in town, but she was with her friends doing her thing. So I was kind of by myself. My mom was working midnight. I'm working till 2 in the morning. She worked at a bar, and so I could do anything I wanted from like 12 years old up, and that's kind of scary.
We have that in common.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's scary, right? I mean, I could do anything. She wasn't home.
Anything.
I could go and do whatever I wanted.
Anything.
I would only come home because all my friends had to be home.
Yeah.
So I'm by myself. I was like, I guess I'll just go home.
Yeah.
But there were some nights when I got in trouble because I'm out, right?
Yeah.
Doing stupid stuff as a 12-year-old. I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So we were on welfare, and I remember government cheese showing up at the door.
I've seen a block of government cheese.
A couple of.
Too.
Have you? Yeah, I've seen a few of those myself.
Yeah.
My mom made some good grilled cheese sandwiches out of that stuff.
For real.
So anyway, that was the beginning of it, and at that time.
But now was this here?
This was in Napa.
This was already here.
Yep. So we were here in Napa
here.
now. So about 12 years old.
Which high school did you go to?
So I went to Napa High.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we got to Napa High, I just knew I wanted to do martial arts. We moved a lot. When I tell you we moved around, and I had to fight all the time. But I didn't want to fight. I did not want to fight, man. I was scared.
Was Napa a scrappy place where the fighting was common?
Yeah,
In schools?
yeah. And Concord. When we moved to Concord, that was my first introduction to gangs.
Huh.
And I was like, ooh. I remember the whole school not attacking me, pushing me and trying to get me to fight this kid that they decided they wanted me to fight at the end of school, pushing me off my bike. Everybody was gathering around. They were kicking me.
This is before you in martial arts.
Yeah. Yeah, this was really kind of probably why I decided, hey man, I touched into it a little bit because I had already having problems, just from moving around,
Yeah.
And anyway, that was a biggie. So I got out of that situation. I felt horrible. It was one of those, bully situations where it can crush a kid, but I wasn't going to let it crush me. I was like, I'm getting out of this. I'm figuring this out. And
were you going to be the bully, or were you being bullied?
no, I was being bullied.
You were being bullied.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
By the school, by the social
all
pressure.
the kids from classes they wanted me to fight this kid. This was just one incident, right? I remember after school, and I was like, I don't want to fight him. I don't even know him. Why do I want to fight him? And incidentally, that kid became one of my good friends.
No.
Yeah, because we did fight eventually.
Did you really?
Oh yeah, I was upset about this, and I was like, when I find him by himself, that's it. It's over. And I remember walking home from school one day, and he was on the on the lawn of this other house, and I think I ran over there, and I think I flew like Superman and hit him and got him on the ground. And I remember I got him in a full Nelson, and I was banging his head in the grass, so it was not doing anything. Sure. But I'm like, rah, 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 making his face all dirty. And then you give. Remember those days?
Yeah,
you give, and he gave up.
Truth.
And we were best friends from there.
Truth. Yeah, that's a guy thing. I think that whole best friend thing.
Yeah. So that was. I really wanted to get into martial arts bad after that, and I'd already touched into it a little bit. Loved Bruce Lee, everything he did, man. I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
So we were too poor, though. We couldn't afford anything, nothing, right?
Yeah.
So I borrowed a gi from a guy who had grass stains on the knees because he's in his backyard, and that's where we went and practiced, in his backyard. So it was just some guy in the neighborhood. And then I found out, they're doing it over here at the college. So I went and did the college for a little bit. It wasn't really what I wanted. It was judo. I wanted to strike more. Mm. Then I found out some guy was doing kung fu, and you're going to love this, at Silverado Middle School in the tennis courts, because he could put a quarter in and turn it and the lights would come on.
Oh my gosh.
So I'd go there and he'd do it for free. I'd go there and train for free. I'd go everywhere I could find for free, man. I went to this place called West Wind, which was the best martial arts school in town back in the 80s. And the lineage from my teaching and my instructors came from there. They used to go there, and then they split off. But anyway, went in there, and I took a 5-day intro course, and I was hooked. I just wanted it so bad. So they brought us in the office.
How old were you at this point?
13.
Wow, that's early.
Brought us in the office and said, okay, well, this is what we want, and this is how much it is a year, with my mother. And my mom laughed out loud at them. She laughed out loud.
We can't do this.
Yeah, she's like, huh? Yeah, like that. And it was like, but Mom, I want to. She's like, we can't afford it. So I just kept looking. I just kept looking for places, and I was at people's houses and other schools and trying this and that. And I walked into this martial arts school. Now we're talking a couple years past this now. It's probably, I'm in Napa High, I think, first year Napa High. Walk into this martial arts school and they're doing, I just took a free judo class at another place. And I walked into this place and I wanted, can I take a free class? They're like, yeah, come on in. And they worked my butt off, had me punching and kicking. I was sweating. Andre Lannertone gave me my first lesson, and it was Doug Meek's karate school. It was next to where the Rainbow Bridge. Remember where that
Susan
place
talks
was?
about that. That was, I got here in '87. I think that was right before me.
Yeah. So it was next to Rainbow Bridge in there in that area where that Anythings and Bikes store is on Jefferson.
Yeah, I know where that is.
Yeah, that used to be one of our karate schools, by the way.
Wow.
Anyway, I walked in there and I had $60. I think it was 60. I can't remember the price. I had amount of money, 40 or 60, that he wanted for a month, and I had it for birthday money. And I walked in and I basically paid the first month, and I don't think I ever paid again.
Wow. He just
took me under.
He just
wing.
knew you found that guy.
I was dedicated.
And
there.
you found he knew you were that kid.
He knew it.
He knew it.
Yeah. And he just put me in it. And he was only like 5 years older than me. He just was young.
Is this Doug the same guy I'm thinking of?
Doug Meeks, yeah.
Because I've heard the
He's
fascinating
an incredible martial artist. His brain is incredible.
I've heard so many stories. You know, I only ran into him when he trained me when Health Quest first opened up. He was a trainer at Health Quest.
Yes.
And he was a thin, fiery, shredded guy, not an ounce of fat.
Not thin, like
muscle,
lean
muscle.
Yeah.
He was a specimen, right?
Yeah.
And I remember the compliment he gave me at that time. I was a young man. I was probably 21, 22. And he says, man, you have great flexibility. I don't have the flexibility. But I didn't realize who was talking to me. And I didn't realize how accomplished he was.
Yeah.
And now I hear guys like you that say that is the one guy most people would never want to run into in a dark alley.
Never know.
And they never know what hit him.
He never talks about it. He never does.
You never know about it.
It's my life, so I wear shirts that have it on there. I talk about it. He's quiet. I used to call him a closet martial artist.
Yeah.
Because he'd just be super quiet.
Kind of like a Bruce Lee type of person, right?
He's just so.
Although Bruce Lee was very braggadocious.
Yeah.
Doug is not.
Doug's not like that at all.
But he can destroy somebody very quickly.
Yeah, he's a hell of a martial artist. His concepts, he's got the brain for it. I can call him right now and say, hey, Doug, who is that guy that started that art back in the day? When he'll, off the top of his head.
Is he still in town?
Yeah.
No kidding.
He'll bring it out off the top of his head. It's so funny because nowadays, he just took some classes from me. I did some home scenario defense classes that we use to shoot house and do all this stuff. And he was just like, his mind was blown about that stuff. He's just like, where we've come from back in the day to now. You know, it's gone full circle many a times. He's showing me stuff. I'm showing him stuff.
Now, was this Doug's school that you started in? Or
yes.
Was Doug the one that took you under?
Yes. So Doug, I believe, I don't know if he was 16, 18, somewhere. He was young. 17, he had opened his first school, and that was his first school. I think his parents might have helped him. I'm not 100% on that.
Sure.
To get it going, right? He left Westwind, the place that my mom laughed at the guy. He left there. Andre Lannerton came with him, and they were just awesome martial artists. They were just awesome. They took me under their wings, man.
That's a great story. I never knew you. I knew you were tight with Doug.
Yeah.
I didn't know that he was sort of the guy that gave you the break.
Yeah, those are my martial art brothers, man. They're just, and there's so many of them. Like Marty's one.
Yeah.
Jeff Sternberg's another one. You know Jeff?
No.
I'm not sure. And then Patrick Walmsley.
I know of Patrick. I know his mom.
These guys are just my best friends. They're just solid people.
You also know Melter?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's not a very big group of you guys.
Not too many.
And you guys are all pretty tight, and there's a lot of respect, I find.
Yeah. There's I kind of gravitate to the originals really well. They've been in my life the longest. Doug, Andre, a guy named Steve Bakke, which I don't see him much anymore. Jeff Sternberg. Pat Walmsley, just these guys are they're just super tight and awesome dudes. I trust them with any part of my life, anything.
I know that some of those names that you mentioned feel the same way about you.
Yeah,
in a big way.
Anything I would, and so Doug, we went through so much with his school. So he'd open a school, but we were teaching. He was teaching traditional Kenpo, and it was just, I think it didn't evolve enough because we would. There's like 5 tough guys. And then somebody would come in and we'd beat their ass, and then they'd leave. And we'd be like, what?
What happened?
What? Why? And somebody else would come in, bam. And they had no kid program. Yeah. I taught kids late, so I started teaching for Doug, like assisting in classes by 17 or something like that. So I've been teaching a long time. But there were no kids that could take it. It was too hard. We couldn't even get adults to take it. Yeah. So we were always searching to simplify the system and make it smaller and better and smaller and better. Evolve.
Yeah.
Right?
No, you've really evolved.
Yeah, a lot.
I mean, a lot.
Yeah. So the standard based Kempo, I'll just give you an idea of where we've ended up. I think Kempo, the Tracy Brothers Kempo, was like 600 and something techniques. I'm not 100% sure on this. 10 to 15, maybe even 20 katas, a lot of stuff, right? And then we were always trying to simplify, like it's too much, too much. Yeah. And now I'm down to, I think 32 base techniques, but I brought in stuff from my travels in Thailand and China and Japan and Brazil, and I've kind of all mixed it together and made my own thing. Yeah. But the big thing that I'm really proud of is made the kids program. Yeah. Because we didn't have a kid program, and I could see these Taekwondo places popping up, and they're like, they're full of students. I'm going, what's going on? Yeah. Well, they catered to children more. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I can do that.
Well, and kids do love you. I mean, they gravitate towards you. Yeah. They see you as the guy that can just get them there without being afraid of you. It's really interesting because you are an imposing figure. You definitely know what you're doing, and I think people could be intimidated by that. But when it comes to the kids, there is like zero... there's zero disconnect. I can see that. I mean, you've trained my kids, you've trained my friends' kids, and it's always been a natural thing for you, man. So
going back to my dad.
I was just going to say that.
Going back to
I was going to say that, yeah.
The way he was with me is incredible.
It says a lot.
I make a tear.
No, it says a lot.
Yeah, so I was just taught classes last night. Andrew Miller is one of my students and instructor now. He's teaching most of the kid classes, doing a great job. Vida Jaffe is also one of my students, and she's doing that as well. And I got many assistants. And but last night I was on the mat, and I don't usually get on the mat too much. I kind of in the background, and I'm running the business. Yeah. And but I got on the mat last night with the 3-year-old. I take them from 3 years old, and not every 3-year-old can do it, but man, that's work. Oh, they want to spin little circles, It's like, but I jumped in and just started teaching, and it's like old hat, I just started going, and I could see the parents' eyes when I start connecting with kids and doing little things with them. Because I guess I kind of look hard, so.
Now, let me ask you this, because I'm different than you in that respect. I was an awful disciplinarian as a father. I was the father that spanked the kids, and I regret it now, and there's a lot of shame around that. And I didn't have a father like you had. My father was belt and...
Was it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was rough. My mother was belt or a broomstick.
Now my mom,
she was probably different.
She'd backhand you in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Susan, the kids say they're more afraid of Susan than they are of me.
I deserve it, but she did. Oh, she got it right from my grandma because she was like that too.
Oh, it is. It's all passed down. But you broke the chain, or your father. Let's say maybe he broke the chain.
I think he did.
He broke the chain. Maybe he was fed up with it, and I find Jerry Jr. Father's real different than the way I fathered. Yeah. Very different, more like you. But I also have a question for you. Are you still a child at heart? Are you still a kid at heart?
I think that's how I can do this. I'm kind of like that Peter Pan thing. Yeah. I don't want to grow up. Yeah. I want to do this.
I think people that are like you, Susan's like you. Susan can grab a coloring book and sit down with London, our granddaughter, and you would think, Susan's having just as much fun.
She's her best friend.
Oh, they're best friends, and you have that, man. So, him passing that on to you, Susan had a great parental experience from her father. So your dad gets a lot of credit for breaking that cycle.
Yeah, he really did, man. I didn't recognize that going on. I didn't know any better. I didn't know good from bad. It could have been, like my buddy said, it could have been totally worse. I didn't know that I was getting the good hand, and now that changed a lot on how I feel about children. I honestly feel, because they're going to grow up and society is going to get involved and social media and all that stuff is going to get involved, right? It already has. Yeah. But that first 10 years, that's where I think that child is made. That first 10 years. If you can really spend quality time in those first 10 years with that kid, their life is going to be better, and they're gonna know that you spent that time with them.
And that's all they seem to want. It's just that time.
That's all they want.
That's all they want.
Yeah.
They don't care whether you're going to Disney or not. It's just you with them.
Yep.
That's the thing, man.
I walked out of class last night after teaching the kids, and they're just having a blast and they're having fun, and I like that part. That feeds me when they're having fun, right? And they're into it.
Yeah.
And I walked out of class, out to the parking lot. I was actually going to check the mail, and two of the kids that took the class run up and give me hugs on my legs.
Yeah.
And that you just can't. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't tell my daughter. My daughter's getting married October 15th. I didn't tell her you were coming here because they're on their way. They're on their way with my daughter-in-law Sierra, Susan, and my daughter are on their way to try on dresses for. They're looking at dresses and venues and things like that for the wedding, and I didn't want to tell her you're coming here because I knew that would have been drama if she knew you were here and she didn't get to say hi to you. So I didn't. I mean, my daughter's
sorry, Alana.
33, 34 years old. My daughter will.
I can say hi now.
Yeah. Oh my God, she would totally. I mean, if she knew you were here and I didn't tell her and all that, but she'll be happy to know that I did that on purpose because I know that she would have been late to wherever she's going.
She's
she
got
would have
stuff
sat
to
here.
do. Yeah.
And she loves you so much, and everything that she got from your place. And Alana's not an easy one because Alana's the one that'll call you. And Kevin, I mean, since she was little, she was that kind of person.
Yep.
But she always felt comfortable in calling Kevin.
Yeah.
And Alana's had a community like that we're so lucky to have that has helped us with some of that parenting because sometimes parents need a little help, right?
Yeah.
And you're providing that in your own way. How many kids are adults now that you've trained?
I can't even.
You can't count, right?
I can't count. I've been doing it for. I was trying to think of the numbers on the way here. It's almost 30 years, like 29.
That's insane.
Years, thousands and thousands and thousands of
It's insane. The number's insane.
Thousands. I don't even know.
How long has Red Dragon been at that location?
So Red Dragon has been there. I've been there for 20 years.
It's been that long already.
Yep, 20 years. And before that, I was doing it in Napa. I was just doing it at the Boys and Girls Club. And then remember, I was at Health Quest doing it at Health Quest.
I remember that.
I was there at Health Quest. And then I also had a place in Santa Rosa that I taught for 20 years in Santa Rosa at the Boys and Girls Club, actually.
I didn't know that.
Yep, 20 years.
Wow.
And I taught up in Sacramento. I was teaching at different locations up there. I got into the structure of how to teach. I lucked out. So I've moved back and forth from Sacramento to Napa, Sacramento to Napa. And I lived in Florida and I went all over, right? But Texas. Anyway, I was in Sacramento and I saw an ad. So I was tending bar. And I saw an ad that said, martial arts instructor wanted. I was like, what's that?
Yeah.
So I answered this ad.
It's not one you see every day.
No. I answered this ad, and it was this company that taught martial arts, but they taught it at like schools or boys and girls clubs or anything that was kind of like in the city, inside the city district.
Would they travel? Would you travel around?
Yeah. So I took my stuff, but it was consistent. So like, let's say it's a boys and girls club, right? Consistent every week. I'd show up at that boys and girls club. I'd bring the stuff and I would teach. Right? And they were advertising. I wasn't doing any of that. They were bringing them in, and I was keeping them. So how it first happened was I went. It's funny. I went to. They said, "Hey, yeah, why don't you go check out?" I called. Said, "Hey, I'm interested." They said, "Hey, yeah, why don't you go check out this class that we have at this school?" Blah blah blah. And I went to the school, and the instructor didn't show up. And so they were like, I went back, and I didn't have a cell phone then. That's how long ago it was. I went to a payphone, called them, and said, "Hey, the instructor didn't show up." They're like, "What? Could you go back and tell him the instructor's on his way, and we're gonna call him, and da da da." So I kind of like, played that part for him. And while I was there were 30 kids trying to get into this place, and all the parents are going, "Are you gonna be the instructor? Are you gonna be the instructor?" And I was like, "I'm just checking it out today. I don't know." The next week I was teaching that class.
Wow.
Yep. Next week.
Is that what kind of started everything?
Well, for kids.
For kids.
For kids. I was already teaching, like I said. I was good at teaching already just because I have a knack for it, I guess. But kids. And this company was called Young Olympians, right? So they were, what it was is it was a company that used to teach dance classes and different stuff in the school systems. And then I think the boys, they had kids and the boys grew up and they didn't want to teach dance. So they said, let's teach karate. I think. I'm not 100%. I seem to remember that.
Yeah.
So they hired me to teach that class. They were doing all the marketing. They had all the marketing stuff. And I learned a lot from them. I learned a lot. I was like, that's how you do it? Oh, wow, this is good. Because I always wanted to compete against those taekwondo places that were opening up everywhere. Yeah. So I designed a kid program using some of their ideas, but their karate was, I would call it watered down. We had trouble. I started teaching with them. In 6 months, they hired me and moved me down south to manage all their instructors. They had a big location down in Newport Beach, and I ran all the instructors, and I could pick. They paid for me to move down there. They gave me a salary. They told me I could pick any of the classes that I wanted to teach, which meant the high ones with the most kids, because you got paid per kid. Wow. So I was like, this is freaking awesome. So I went down there, lived down there, and then the company, and you know how it is inside those companies, there was a lot of people there. All the martial arts people I got along with. The only one I didn't get along with was the people that weren't martial arts people that kind of had, I don't know, this attitude stuff. Yeah. And then they had a Texas program that was going down. They were all over. They had a Texas program that was kind of going down, and they sent a guy to fix it, and he quit. And I was like, hey, I'm in line next to go to Texas. Can I go to Texas and try to fix the program? I wanted to get out from underneath this guy that was a controller, and that was his title, controller. Controlled the money, controlled the this, controlled the that. He was a control freak. So I moved to Texas to get out away from it, and to try to help that program. The problem was they had a base in Houston, and Texas is big, and it was spread out. I couldn't get instructors. It was really hard. So you would hire you as an orange belt, let's say, and say, hey, I'm going to put a black belt on you. You're going to teach these kids. I'm going to show you how to teach.
Oh my God.
That's what it came down to.
Oh my gosh.
That's what it came down to, because we couldn't find people to teach. So many people wanted to take it, we couldn't find people to teach.
So the integrity of the whole company started to just...
Yeah, and the martial arts was horrible. So you had people from all kinds of different... watered down. You had people from all kinds of different arts coming in, teaching it. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? This is not for me. I'm going back to California. I'm gonna put
what a shame, though, huh? What a shame.
Because they had the reach.
For them.
They had the reach.
They had the reach.
They had the reach. So I went back home, and I designed my own kid program out of the tempo, which is an art that I first took with Doug.
How many arts have you practiced?
Everything I can find.
You have.
Yeah, I've done a little bit.
Grappling,
of
everything. Yeah. Judo.
I was grappling last night.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Your body still handles it okay?
Man, do we got to go there?
No.
Yeah, we can. No, I want to say it. So, no, I have been on a month. I've been wanting to be on the mat grappling, and my back has been hurting the worst it's ever hurt in my life. And I was like, I can't do it. I'm pissed. I want to do it, and I can't. Yeah. So it finally felt good enough this last week that I was like, I'm getting on the mat. Down. Yeah, I said, I'm going. So I was trying to be careful, and I'm a little sore, but I want to train. Yeah. It's in my blood. I can't help it. In your blood. So I trained in quite a bit of offshoots. So Muay Thai got my attention when I was young. I was just telling the story last night. Underground VHS tapes of underground Muay Thai fighting I found somehow. Plugged in the tape, and they were going for it. I was like, whoa.
You love that.
Oh, like a bug tool. So I ordered out of the back of Blackbelt magazine, this is before internet stuff, I ordered Rob Kamen, Dutch world champion Muay Thai kickboxer. He had a complete set of VHSs. I still have them. And I ordered that set, and man, the stuff that he was showing on there, little did I know, I still teach those concepts today. That guy was on it with everything. Yeah, his concepts were good. So I incorporated that. We did some JKD Jeet Kune Do, which is Bruce Lee's stuff. We kind of like went to the places and got the information and then brought it back into our circle and played with it. Yeah. And then we go do something else, judo, and take some of that, come back in and play with it. And then we'd go
People think judo's boring till you really watch
till you
judo.
get tossed on your
Yeah,
ass.
just
So the one of the stories I'll tell you real quick was my buddy Jeff Sternberg. So great martial artist. He actually had his school with Pat Wamsley. They had a school for a while.
Okay.
Anyway, he was one of my students. I have to tell you the quick story with him because I love him so much. He came in.
And just so you know, I'm minding your time. I have all the time you need.
Okay.
Just so you know, because
I don't know. I get on a roll.
No, I bet you I can do 3 series on. This is a lot of fun.
So thank you. Jeffy came in. I call him Jeffy. He's my buddy, man. He came into the martial arts school when we were at that Anything's place, right on Jefferson there. Okay, we were in that shopping center 3 different times, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how much they were closing. They'd open and they'd close, and I just got sick of that. Yeah. So anyway, he came in there and he became a student. So I started teaching him. Right, I was teaching back then. It was mid '80s, and he was just tough. I could just tell. I was like, okay, this kid's he's determined. He's determined. So I'd tell you a quick story. One day we were boxing, and he was already coming up in his belts a little bit, and we were boxing. And so we were punching, and he ducked or something, and I threw a hook or uppercut. I can't remember what it was, but I caught him in the nose. And he goes, oh. And I go, what? He goes, oh, dude, you broke my nose. And I go, I broke your nose? He goes, yeah, man, you broke my nose. I've had it broke before. I know what it feels like. You broke my nose. And I'm like, oh, Jeff, what do we do? And he goes, let's keep boxing. And I was like,
this guy's
here he is. This is my brother right here.
This is the guy. He's having much more fun than
he didn't want to go anywhere. He wanted to keep boxing. I was like, oh my God. So he became one of my bestest friends. And so he, later on, when he had his own school, went and found Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. So another friend of ours, Mike, I believe this is how the story goes, Mike Snyder found his mom, I think, lived down in Southern California, and the Gracies just moved down there, I believe, something like that.
You're talking about the same Mike Snyder I know, right?
Mike Snyder that you know.
That's funny.
Mike Snyder found out that Caesar Gracie was opening up a karate or a jiu-jitsu school in Walnut Creek, I believe. Concord, Walnut Creek, somewhere in there. And Jeff went to find the school. Jeff wanted to know jiu-jitsu, so he went to find the school. And then apparently Jeff showed up and knocked on the door, and there was no sign up or anything, and Caesar opened the door and was like, can I help you? Because he wasn't ready yet. And Jeff saw, hey, yeah, I'm here for the jiu-jitsu. He's like, how'd you find out about us? I'm not even open yet. So Jeff was one of his early students. Wow. So Jeff would go there and train, and then he'd bring it back, and we'd do what we always do. Let's do this, let's do this, let's try this, let's put that. This is how you do that? Oh, awesome, cool.
How often would you guys meet? How often would you train?
We used to train 5 days a week.
You would?
Yeah.
I had to imagine it had to be pretty intense.
We trained always. So, Jeff brought that stuff back. And the quick story about that was that little jiu-jitsu that I learned secondhand from Jeff, who was learning it through Caesar. I went down to LA, and it wasn't real big down there yet, and I was tapping people left and right from this little stuff that Jeff showed.
Were you competing?
No. Just I went down to a Muay Thai place, and they're like, oh yeah, we do jiu-jitsu because the UFC started coming out, right? Everybody's like, everybody's all, oh, UFC, oh yeah. So strikers were thinking that they could do that too. Man, I was tapping people out left and right, and it was just all that stuff that he showed me. It was like a superpower. Nobody knew it.
Wow.
Nobody knew it. And then I went to Texas. Remember I told you I went to Texas?
Yeah.
So I found a place to train Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu. I was like, heaven. I went in there. Their Muay Thai was, their Jiu-Jitsu was, So I went in there and rolled and was like, I'll never forget it. I tapped out this big old wrestler dude. He must have been like close to 300 pounds. He was huge. And so I tapped him out. He got pissed, jumped up, kicked the bag. Come on, let's go again. Came back in again, so I tapped him out again. Got up, man, let's go again. Got up, we went again. I tapped him out again. He just quit. He just gave up.
Wow.
Yeah, I was scared. That guy was big.
That was a wall.
That guy was big.
It was a wall. Size matters, huh?
Yeah, it does matter.
Even because I've heard that, and I've had friends who we mutually know who've been attacked. And they say that, even you knowing a lot of things, when you have a wall coming at you, man, it's still a wall that you got to deal with.
They have weight classes in the UFC for
a reason, right?
For a reason. if you're talking about that level,
Yeah.
big matters. Big hits hard.
Yeah.
You know,
harder to take down. Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
Strong is a thing.
You don't want to get caught. You don't want to get grabbed.
Strong is a thing. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that training in different arts like that, and then bringing them back into our circle with nobody telling us we couldn't do it, was a blessing. Because then we started, hey, let's put this trapping in here from JKD. That's badass. Let's do that, and then we'll move into our hardcore stuff from now. Oh yeah, cool. I can try this. But if you go to, you know, a traditional, they'll be like, no, you don't do that. We don't do that. So
I'm fascinated with sort of the trajectory and what I've seen from the outside, and you taking from kids to you know, average age people, but then now I see you training women in self-defense. I brought that up to even my daughter-in-law the other day, to Sierra, and I talked to Susan about it, and boy, their ears perked up right away. Like, they perked up right away. And by the way, we're not a hand-carrying. I always say that my opinion on guns is the people that should own a gun should be screened for mental health, and they should be screened for different things, because I don't believe I'm mentally healthy enough to carry a gun. I will say that, because I've been shot at. I know how I react to that, and I also, when I've been shot at, I know what it does to me internally and how I react if I were to have a gun. I mean, the person that shot at me, everybody looked like that person after that person shot at me. Yeah, so it was really scary.
yeah, that could be scary.
That's scary, right? So my opinion is I'm probably better with no guns around me, because I'm reactive. I'm not thoughtful. I think if you're going to have a gun, you need to be a person that gets trained, learns how to use it so it doesn't get turned on you, and you have the best odds possible, right?
It's a huge thing that people don't think of.
You gotta increase your odds.
Used against you.
It could be used against you.
Just like a knife, we talk about that, a knife, a stick, whatever, a bat, it can be used against you if you don't know what you're doing.
And that's where I thought, when I brought that up in front of Susan and Sierra and their ears perked up, it didn't make me feel like, oh God, I'm anti-gun. I'm anti-gun for myself. I'm not anti-gun for anybody else. Yeah. I'm anti-gun for this guy. I take ownership of that. But then I thought, wow, I bet you these gals would take a class like that. I bet you they would benefit. And Sierra was totally all about it, because she's ready to give birth. And after she gives birth, she'd probably love to do something like that. She wants to protect herself, but she wants to protect her family above all.
And that's something that I really like to push, is family protection, home protection, this right here, and your family, man. That's like huge. I can't believe that people don't do it. It's like,
well, because you hear the stories on the other side, and you're probably thinking, if you would have, could have, should have, it could have been
and just
different.
Awareness. Most of the time, it's just awareness and knowing that, man, that's as bad, and I'm going to be aware, and that person will never get close to you because you're aware.
Yeah, well, that's another thing that I was hoping we'd have time to touch on, is the confidence that you walk around with, you know, because you, Marty, people like that, Marty served as, when I was doing a lot of the speaking engagements that I was doing, Marty served as security for me, and you know, it's to kind of, but Marty never engaged with anybody. Even if people would get out of line, Marty was the coolest guy in the room. Yeah. You guys are always the coolest people in the room. You're not there to just throw a blow and put somebody out. You're almost there to diffuse more than anything, because you're comfortable in your skin and you know that you're going to be able to defend yourself if they come at you.
There's something to happen with confidence. There's something that happens in there. Everybody that I know that's a badass, they're chill.
They're so chill, right? That's what scares me the most.
Everybody that I know that's really a badass is chill. Yeah. The guy it's like the barking dog. The barking 100%. Dog just ba 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 ba. Don't worry. And my dad used to say this to me. That's funny. He used to say, "Don't worry about the guy that's all barking like a dog. Be worried about the quiet guy in the corner." And I was like, "What's he talking about?" Because I was scared of the barking dog for sure when I was young. But yeah, that's so true, man. Everybody that I know that is, like I said, a badass is chill. You can't put in that much time into something. I heard this a long time ago. The more you learn it, martial arts, the less you'll use it. And it's true. It's true, because now I know what can happen. First off, the first thing is, wow, I could really get my ass kicked if I don't know what I'm doing. Right? Then after that, it comes down to, man, I don't really want to engage with this dude because I'll just give my experience. I don't want to engage with this dude. The last guy I engaged with that broke my knuckle, and he was an asshole, and it wasn't worth me breaking my knuckle and being sore on my knuckle for 3 weeks or a month because of that jackass. Yeah. Honestly. So I have, now it's come.
There's a cause and effect to everything.
Now I'm diffusing it before it even happens because I know. So this is an incident, and I'd like to share this with you real quick about how this happens. I'm at a restaurant bar in Napa. In the bathroom, I'm at this side of the bar, and the bathroom is all the way around at that side of the bar. And there's this guy over here, and he's being loud. He's being a jackass. He's punking people when they go by. And I'm like, man, this guy's gonna pick me out because I always do because I'm casual and cool, and I'm not like this, and I'm just walking. I go, he's gonna mess with me, and then I'm not gonna let him punk me, and there's gonna be a problem. Okay, what do I do? Well, I'm going out the front door. I'm going out around into the back door and into the bathroom so I could avoid that situation.
You went that much out of your way.
Because I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to end up engaging this dude, and then, I just didn't want to. Yeah. Let him be somebody else's problem. I'm not going to try to take that on. So being chill, one of the other things I think is you leave all that on the mat.
Oh.
Stress.
Wow.
Right? You let it out on the mat. I know when I don't train, I get a little pent up.
You're more pent up.
Yeah.
That's great. I never would have thought about that. Is that you're literally, because it's your workout, and that ties into mental health, right? I mean, you're just, that's your drug, and it doesn't have to be a drug. It's just, you're super fit. You've always been super fit.
Well, I'm feeling a little hell.
Oh, dude,
I'm actually in a fast right now.
Good for you.
Yeah.
It's supposed to
be to eat after this.
Good for you. Good for you. Intermittent fasting has been helping me a lot.
Yeah, good.
It's a thing, and it really works.
It is a thing.
It's really
agreed.
It really works.
Agreed. What have you been doing?
Well, I've been doing a lot. I started, and there's a doctor here. I actually his episode is going to be. It's just released yesterday, and it's right before this one.
Oh, okay.
So yours will be right after that one. So you can look at episode 13 was with Dr. Goldheimer, who's the founder of and CEO of the True North Health Clinic in Santa Rosa, and they do supervised water or juice fasting.
Oh, okay.
So you can literally check yourself in there, and they'll check you out. Some people check themselves in for almost a month or over a month.
Wow.
And they literally come out a different human being.
Yeah.
But some people have done 20, 30-day water fasts.
Oh my goodness.
But monitored and the whole thing.
That'd be scary if it
no,
was
the whole thing. You're literally hooked in.
Well, that's way deeper than I've.
It's way deeper. It's way deeper, and it's for different reasons. Everybody has a different reason. Some people is to mitigate an illness that they're dealing with at the time and to sort of break it. And for some people, frankly, is morbidly obesity. People who are 300, 400, 500 pounds. They got to break the pattern and they reset, and they do that to go reset.
I just carry a little too much around the midsection.
Yeah, you'd be done in 10 days. Yeah,
so the reason why I was doing 16/8.
Yeah, those are great.
Yeah, so
those are great.
And I did it for basically just to get control of what I'm eating. We live in the beautiful Napa Valley. There's some yummy food.
Everything's tied in.
Everything is great here. I mean, it's hard, right?
Dr. Goldheimer wrote a book called The Pleasure Trap. And we live in the pleasure trap.
We are in the
pleasure
trap.
We are in the pleasure trap.
So I wanted to get control. So I go, I'm just going to eat through these times. Smart. And that basically took out one of the meals. And I was like, okay, that's cool. So now I'm used to that, but your body starts getting used to it. Yeah. So now you got to trick your body into something else. So I was on and off it for a little bit. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to fast because my girlfriend decided she was going to start fasting, and she's like, "Oh my God, I feel great! I feel better than I've ever felt."
And when you have somebody at home doing it with you, it makes all the difference.
And I was like, okay, I know, I've heard all about this. People have told me all about it. So, a good friend of mine, Mike DeLacy. Do you know Mike?
No.
Oh, he's an awesome guy. He always sending me stuff about fasting and health. He's always trying to stay on top of it with me. I love him, man. He's a good dude. And anyway, he was telling me about it. So when she started talking about it, I was already, knew some stuff and was thinking about it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do a 24-hour fast. Because she did like a 64-hour fast. I said, I'm going to do 24 hours. Just do it. I'm just going to do it. Man, it went by with ease because of the 16/8. Because I was already used to not eating in certain time frames.
Yeah. So all you did, you took out that one block and you're good.
Took out the one block. Yeah. That's exactly what I did. So now I go, yeah, that's cool. I'm going to do it again. I didn't realize that I was actually going to do a longer fast. I had no idea. I go, I'm going to do another 24-hour fast. Well, it ended up being a 40-hour fast because I went to bed, and then when I woke up, I didn't want to. I was on my normal schedule of waiting like 4 hours to eat again.
Yeah.
And when I ate, I started calculating. I was like, that was 40 hours.
Did you find your sleep pretty good?
Not yet.
No.
I can't differentiate that yet because sleeping has been a problem for me lately in the past few years. I don't know why it never was before, but it is now.
So for me, sleep is not a problem anymore. I've been having the best sleep I've had in the last 4 months since I've dropped these 60 pounds.
Yeah, good.
I still have another 30 to go.
60?
Yeah, I have another 30 to go, bro.
30?
30 more.
That's pretty good.
Because the right weight for me is like 170. I'm 5'9", man. It's not like I'm 6'3".
I'm like 5'9" too. It's not.
Yeah, it's not like, dude.
Different body types are different. The genetics are different.
You hold more muscle.
Things are different.
I might look like I hold muscle, but it was a lot of fat. When the fat starts to disappear, there's not that much muscle in there. Not as much as I hoped.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
The bulking didn't work
out.
No,
the bulking. Yeah, that walking around like this wasn't for anything other than to pull the fat.
Yeah.
No, I like it. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead.
Well, I just like the fasting part.
It's a thing, and it's been proven that it really, your body's actually repairing itself, especially when you're sleeping. Yeah. Your body's really healing, because if we don't give our bodies and our intestines a break from constantly working, we don't have time to heal. So you're literally doing something really good for yourself.
This is the third week. I have seen a difference. As you get older, you start. I told somebody last night, I was saying, man, if I was eating what I ate for the last 3 weeks and doing what I did for the last 3 weeks when I was 30, I'd be ripped right now.
I wish I could convince, and I asked Dr. Goldhammer about that. I said, is there any way that what you're teaching and what Dr. Joel Furman, all these guys that are really scientists and doing experiments on how our body reacts to different types of foods and things like that, and we're all different, we all react differently to different things, but is there any way that we can talk younger people into starting earlier? That's just not even something that people can even talk about. Younger people are just not in the space.
I know.
To even.
I didn't know. I've been on every diet fad that you could think of. Like,
same here.
We used to do intermittent fasting. We just didn't know it.
Yeah.
1 meal a day.
Yeah.
It was the 1 meal a day diet.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because we were always.
Remember Body for Life, 6 meals a day.
Yes. Then we went to that, eating every 2 hours. I know guys that were waking up. Setting their alarm clock at 2 a.m. getting up and eating, and then getting up again at 5.
Sundays and Wednesdays, we're cooking all the meals, packaging them all, putting them in the freezer.
Went through all that stuff, man, all of it. So it's like, I think that overall, I was talking to Andre Lannerton. I talked to him. He was a nutritionist too, and talking to him about this a while back, years ago actually. And I was like, look, man, I just start eating less, and it helps. He goes, yeah. Overall, it's calories in versus calories burned. That's overall what it is.
Well, and I think today I was literally listening to something on Peter Attia's. He's got a podcast called The Drive, and Peter Attia is a neuroscientist, and he had a doctor on that was a nutritionist that's been around for a long time. He's done a lot of studies, and the one thing that I think most of us are killing ourselves with is the quantity of calories. We consume way too many calories every day. And you know how we distribute nutrients, that's all up for debate. According to this doctor, it's really debatable. If I went plant-based, I went SOS, no alcohol, no caffeine. So that means I don't eat sugar, oil, or salt. I stopped caffeine at the same time I did this, and I took out alcohol and any little recreational pot smoking. I mean, I've been clean for 4 months.
Yeah, I don't drink or do any.
Well, so you're way ahead. So, but if you were to wrench it up,
sugar's another story.
Oh, you take out sugar. Your sleep may change.
I'm trying. That's what this fasting is doing.
It's good to do. Reset.
I'm trying to get control.
And that's what you're doing. And the reset is the key. I think the reset for some of us. You know what my reset was? Going to a physical, and she said, your blood pressure's high. Yeah. Can you come back tomorrow? I didn't come back for 2 months. You know why? Because I knew what she was going to tell me in the next visit. I knew she was going to put me on a pill. Yeah. So I went back 60 days later, 40 pounds lighter. And then my blood pressure was fine. Yeah, but blood pressure is tied into salt.
Yeah, well, and you dodged the pill, the medication.
I dodged the
stuff that they
That's the slippery slope.
Yep.
The slippery slope is the pill.
Yep.
Because from one pill, then there's more pills.
Easy.
There's more. The solution is always going to be pills.
Easy.
That was my reset. That freaked me out.
Yeah,
and
good.
Dr. Goldhammer. Oh, Dr. Goldhammer laughed about it because I went to his place when I was 43 pounds down. He says, I don't like it when people do that. I want you here sick. Like the episode said, fat, sick, and nearly dead, like that old recording.
Yeah.
I wanted you here when you were really down. I said, no, everything that you gave me got me to reset, was removing the SOS.
That's good. That's what needs to happen, the reset. For me now, that's
You're
what's
doing
going
a reset.
on. That's what's
You're
going
doing
on.
a reset. You're super aware.
And I told Mike DeLacy last night, I said, I'm just stubborn, and I'm not going to let this I want to eat that stuff win.
Yeah.
Nope, it is not going to win.
Well, I wanted to talk about grit, because that's the one thing I notice in most of the martial arts people I know, and some of them who we're both friends with, it's grit. All of you guys have this grit. I didn't know you unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, had that built-in grit from childhood that's similar to mine.
Yeah.
But you guys all have that grit and that will to just say, bullshit, I'm just going to get up and I'm going to make this happen. I mean, you've had a business for a real long time, and to have a business for a long time, it's hard, because we all know there's cycles, and we also know that there are periods where you go, holy shit, it's just easier to close it down. You know, how many times has that happened to you in 30 years?
Yeah.
It's easier to close it down. And you guys have grit.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, to be a small business owner, you have to, right? I mean, I go after it. One of my other buddies that does jiu-jitsu, he's a jiu-jitsu black belt, Jesse Garcia. He said this to me one day. He goes, Kevin, I like you, man, because you're a hustler. And I was like, yeah, I guess I am. I hustle, man. Yeah, I hustle to get stuff done. I go after it. Yeah. You know, when I was young, I honestly, some of this stuff is, my grandma was one of the hardest, strongest women that I've ever met to this day. I mean, she passed a long time ago, but that woman was hardcore.
Mom's mom?
Yeah, she was hardcore. She was a preacher's daughter, and she was tough. She used to talk about fights. She used to get fights all the time. I get my toughness from the women in my family.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Yeah.
My mom was just like my mom was tough.
Yeah.
They're tough. And anyway, the being, I forget where I was going with this one actually. Being having a little bit of that grit. Having a little bit of that grit kind of comes from the family too, the genetics, right? Yeah. I think. Yeah. So, but then we all find each other. The martial art guys kind of find each other. I don't know if that's a thing. I know martial arts does amazing stuff for people. I know that. And I would like to touch on that just for a second. Martial arts, to me, is the single best thing that a human can do. If you could pick out anything you want to do, right? You're on this beautiful golf course, you want to play golf, great. You could get good at it, you'll meet good people, you'll do this, you'll do that. But that, baseball, football, whatever, doesn't hold a candle to what martial arts does for the human. From discipline, control, achievement, goal setting, respect, honor, courage, determination. It does all these major things, and I'm a true believer, man. I'm a true believer in it. And that helped with my business, my passion.
So you've literally been shaped over 30 years or more of this journey of being in it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. It shows, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
It shows.
A little bit of military in there.
Yeah, there's military in there.
Marine Corps, yeah, right out of high school. So that helped a lot. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, that was pretty cool. But the thing for me that if I could tell anybody out there in the world listening, which we are, give martial arts a look. I don't care if you're 3 or 103. It helps the human.
I love that.
It's a pathway to human potential. It opens it up because all these kids that I've taught, I stay in touch with them. Half of my day is answering emails and saying hi back to them because they're at college or they've graduated college now and they're running a company from somewhere else or whatever. They're all doing top-notch stuff, following their dreams and their passions. I just open their minds and their ideas that, hey, you can get here if you want. Do you want to get that? Well, then don't give up. Yeah. You'll get there. It's pretty incredible, man. It really is.
Can you touch a little more on, okay, so the kids, you're still welcoming kids, but again, I'm still fascinated by the women's self-defense.
Yeah.
Is that still something that you're doing?
Yeah, I do. So my regular adult class is Monday and Wednesday. I do it at 6 o'clock. It's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
That really is the place to go for men and women. I have just as many women as I have men.
Good to know.
We really cover everything there, and we just continually do it, and that's how you get good. It's muscle memory, repetitions, and then you start putting your own flair into it. You know, it's that's the way it works. But I have women's self-defense class, so I've got one coming up May 21st.
Nice.
It's on the website, reddragontactical.us. May 21st is the next women's self-defense class. I think I have maybe 7 or 8 openings left in that class.
Nice.
Yeah. There's students already signed up for it, and I have more throughout.
What day in May did you say?
It's May 21st, whatever day that is. I'm not sure if it's a Sunday.
We'll be back from vacation. Maybe Susan will take it. That'd be great.
And it's awesome, man, because I tailor the women's self-defense courses, and I've been doing women's self-defense courses for at almost the same amount of time I've been in business teaching kids.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. I just don't focus on it too much because the kid thing is what I focused on. Yeah. But everyone I do seems to be packed, and if I was smart.
Oh, I remember your classes at the gym. Those things were packed.
Yeah.
It was always Kevin. Let's go to Kevin's.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I loved it.
And then
and your workouts were probably the most intense.
Yeah. The
and
kickboxing workout.
Oh, dude, it was so intense. I mean, there was never a punch wasted. I mean, it was like you're burning calories. It was
great.
Insane.
Yeah, it was great. Those were fun times, and I really liked that.
Yeah.
But as far as the women's self-defense classes go, so I tailor them to that, right? Women, what do they need to know versus a man, right?
Yeah.
So what do you need to know? Awareness has got to be key. You got to get your nose out of the phone.
Yes.
You got to be aware of what's going on. They have some natural talents that we don't have. Women can deal. Most women can deal with the odd guy kind of staring at them real well. They know how to turn on bitchy mode or whatever mode, right? Don't
sort
mess
of that
with
way to repel.
Don't mess. Yeah, that repel mode that comes natural to a lot of women.
Yeah.
So we just use that a little bit, but the ground stuff. So because what an assailant grabs a woman, they're probably going to go to the ground, right? Yeah. So we try to train the ground stuff, but I try to get them aware of before it gets that close, before they get their hands on them,
right?
Because the jiu-jitsu game is freaking awesome. I love jiu-jitsu, but the striking is also a game not a game, but reality that needs to be played when you can. So people like with wrestling or grappling, they like to get a hold and grapple. Right. Well, when they get a hold of me, I'm headbutting at first, and I'm trying. Now, it may go to the ground, but this guy's going to be seeing stars, or his eye's going to start swelling, the blood's going to get into his eye that I just cracked him here, or something, right? So hitting somebody that is attacking you puts a shock into their system. As soon as they get hit, especially if you hit a good target, and that's what we focus on, you hit a good target, so say the nose. Wham, you hit the nose. It doesn't have to be super hard. You can break the nose. What else happens? The eyes water, blood.
No, you can't see.
So you hit that. This person went like this, and now you've got an opportunity to maybe hit again, and maybe you run. Right? Instead of, he's grabbing me. Oh my God, he's grabbing.
Yeah, and sometimes the best defense is to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, the best defense is to get out. So maybe he grabs and I go bang real quick, and then I'm on I'm running.
Just getting out.
I'm running, right?
Or
so I do that.
On somebody's door.
I do that with women. Anything.
Yeah.
Anything, right? We do that with women.
You're buying time. You're just trying to buy a little more time.
Yes.
Especially if it's a guy that 250 pounds against a 100-pound female. You need some time to be able to assess and move up.
Yeah, and we get down and dirty, man. We get deep into
I know
aspects of self-defense. I mean, honestly, I talk about this, and I'll touch on this real quick. False give up. Okay, honey. Okay. Yeah. Just don't hurt me. Yeah. Just don't hurt me. I have family. I have kids. False give up. Thumb in the eye. False give up. But as soon as you do that, be prepared because they're going to flip out. So you got to have a second plan.
You have an angry guy. Yeah. So you better be ready.
Yeah. So you better be ready. I mean, and I've had women tell me that I don't think I could poke somebody's eye out, or I don't think that I could squeeze their throat. And I was like, well, you have to deal. That's okay, but you're going to have to deal with the other consequences that could be just as bad, if not worse, which I would think would be worse.
Yeah.
And for the rest of your life.
Well, I think there's also the fact that we kind of live in a bubble, so we don't think this could ever happen to us. And I have family and friends that live in areas that are not in a bubble, and they literally at home train. I have a lot of I have family in the in law enforcement, and they literally train their spouses on what to do if something happened at an ATM, or something happened when I leave you in the car and I go into the grocery store. They literally do drills on what to do. And I'll tell you, one of my cousins, I mean, his drill is, if they hold me with a gun, you just take that gun out of the glove compartment and you come out shooting. Whether you hit me or not is indifferent, because they're gonna come after you next, no matter what. Whatever happens to me is indifferent. They know, because we're talking about areas where there are cartels.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna let the wife get away.
That's the last thing you want to be involved in if you can.
Yeah. So there are drills for every situation. I don't think the drills here should be as significant, because this is a bubble. But boy, can something happen here? It's showed itself. So it's happened.
Jerry,
here.
my training has gone to a whole new level with firearms training. So when I started doing firearms, I've been teaching firearms for about 5 years. RedDragonTactical.us. We have scenario-based training, which is my favorite training. It's my favorite. So I went to do this. We go to a shoot house. We set everything up. So you're at the ATM, and some guy comes up and tries to put a knife to you and rob you. Or maybe they're robbing somebody else. Or you're at your house, we're sitting like this, you're the only one home, and somebody kicks the door and starts running in. What do you do? Yeah. Or you're sitting there and you hear a crash in the back, you're like, what was that? Yeah. What do you do? We set all these scenarios up with role players. Yeah. So you actually play the role. So you have a better idea of what would happen. We do it for CCW carriers. You're talking about people really need training. I agree 100%. So we do that kind of training though, and I'll tell you how that happened for me. I found this company, Threat Scenarios, which I teach with Threat Scenarios now for quite a while now. But I do my own thing, Red Dragon Tactical. Anyway, they were doing the shootouts. They used to do that. They introduced me to it. I found it. I went and did it. I was like, oh my God. And I've been in martial arts my whole life. And I was like, oh boy, this stuff is cool. I made all my black belts go. I went back and said, you're going. We're all going. We bought the whole day out. Let's go. And went and trained. And for weeks, this is what it does. For weeks, I just had a guy call me the other day talking about like 6 months ago where he did something wrong. You'll do stuff and you'll fail, but you learn from it, right? And for weeks, you'll be like, man, I couldn't have, if I would have done this and I didn't. And Doug Meeks, I took him and watched him go through that whole process that I went through, and I was just smiling because I've been trying to get him out there for a long time, and I knew that he would go through the process. I knew he would love it, and I knew that he would be upset about what he did and all that. I knew it because I did it, and he took him out there. His eyes were this big. He was like, he was talking about all his students doing it. I mean, it's that incredible. Wow, it's really cool. So you ever get a chance to do that, you want to know what you would do in a home situation. And it's all controlled. We use airsoft guns.
That'd be great for me.
We use airsoft guns. We have protection for that, but it's not too bad. Yeah. And they still go bang. It's still like, Yeah. But if you've never dealt with that before, ever, how do you know what you're going to do? Yeah. I had a guy, one scenario, he jumped up. I would demonstrate it, but I don't want to get off the camera. He jumped up and he went, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. He just like ran in circles. And I go,
that's what you would do in real life.
That's what he did. And he just ran in circles. And I go, hey, man, did you know you just ran in circles? He's like, no, I didn't. I went to the corner. I pulled my phone because I videoed it. And I said, hey, man. Show him. And he goes, oh, my God. Oh, my God.
I've seen myself do that when I thought somebody was breaking into our house. Mm-hmm. And it was our 16-year-old that had skipped out the window in the middle of the night. He was trying to get back into the house at 3 or 4 a.m.
Now, yes.
And literally, no guns in the house at that point, no guns. I literally was running in circle because I was looking for a weapon. I ended up with a fireplace poker in the middle of the living room.
Had something.
But I didn't even know where to go, what to do, what to expect. And all of a sudden I hear Susan, Dustin. It was Dustin outside. But I know exactly what you meant by you're not even aware because you've never been in that and you haven't ran through a drill.
That's how training. That's why training is so important. It's so important.
So cool.
I have a hard time explaining to people. I tell them ego gets in the way of the males.
Yes.
The women want to learn. The ego gets in the way of the males. The ego is the killer of progression.
Yes.
It is the killer of progression.
Because we think we got it.
Yeah.
We think we got it.
Oh, I know.
I got it.
I'm good.
I've thrown down.
And all those people I put in those situations and they choke. It's like, yeah, see, you didn't have it. And then they get hooked. It's kind of like martial arts. So the guy thinks, I used to train in my buddy's garage. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. They get on the mat, you school them real quick, and then they go, hey,
a guy half your weight is putting you out.
And now they're ready to learn.
Yeah.
Right? They got to be humble.
This is so humble.
They got to be humble before they're ready to learn.
I think I'm due for some humbling.
Yeah, it's funny, but I wish it didn't come down to that. I wish they could get over the ego part. Like, for instance, I know guys that train in. I'm a second A, guy. I love that we have that right, but I do feel that you need to train if you're going to have it. Oh, yeah. We have the right to own a weapon and to have a weapon, but you have the responsibility to train with it. Because you are a liability for your family and everybody around you if you don't have training.
Imagine if everybody did that. I mean, I think the outcome would be so different.
Yep. And so just getting training in general would be good for, like, really everyone. Even kids. Like, I had a friend got shot at a house with a long time ago. The guy came out, hey, look at this, and bang, right? So I've had parents that are bringing me their kids now to teach them safety. And so we teach when a gun comes out, what do you do? First thing I need to do is make sure that thing is clear. It's pointed in a safe direction no matter what. We follow all the safety guidelines, right? And I teach them, hey, what if you were in a spot and somebody brought this out? What would you do? Hey, man, point that thing to the ground right now. No, listen, I saw something. Point that to the ground. Okay, you need to go over and let's check and make sure this thing's clear. Make sure there's no bullet in it, something like that.
As kids, we were the same way. As kids, our elders would really, I mean, we've been exposed to guns forever. Yeah. And we even used to do anti-communist movement drills.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, because my family, I probably shouldn't say too much on camera, but anyways, there was a lot there, and there was a lot in the anti-communist. So we used to go to the Everglades and train out there with AR-15s. We're 13, 14 years old training with AR-15s out there. But there was such a community of the elders would constantly, I mean, there was like, it was almost like second nature, walking around, making sure that thing was clear, making sure it was never pointed at somebody. It was just really just drilled.
If you just get the basic safety stuff and then drill it, it stays with you. I've got a big gun class this weekend at Richmond Rod and Gun Club. My classes are full.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, we train in all kinds of stuff. And the more that you train, the more you have a better chance, the better you get, and you have a better chance of defending yourself safely with a firearm if you need it. And people are like, oh, you live in Napa Valley. Yeah. What do you need it for? Yeah. Last week, minutes from my house, there was a shooting.
Well, I'm glad
Two people got shot.
I was going to say, I'm glad that the guy that took 2 shots at me from about 12 feet away, this guy takes 2 shots at me and did 5 years in prison over that. From about 12 feet away, but he was high enough and out of sorts enough that I don't think he ever took any training, which is why he missed. Because at that closeness, I was sitting in a car. He literally just got a hold of me as I was trying to get out of a car in the middle of the night. And
wow.
Yeah, and it was, and again, PTSD settles
That's
in
hairy.
Afterwards, and everybody looked like that guy.
That's hairy.
Everybody looked like that guy.
Yeah. So we actually do scenarios just like that.
That's
we
great.
Put people in positions to where they see that, and they may fail, they may do okay, but at least they know what it looks like. Yeah. And it's almost reminding me of the martial arts saying, the more you learn it, the less you'll use it.
I believe that wholeheartedly. And I believe that about you guys being as well trained as you are, because I know a lot of guys that you just don't see you guys scrapping out all of it. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. I bounced like you did for years, and I got a lot of action doing that. Yeah. In my 20s and early 30s, I got a lot of action, so I kind of know how fights work and what happens, and it wasn't just trying to throw a guy out of a bar. There was multiple attackers. There was all kinds of stuff.
You get people jumping you.
Oh my God, just big old. I mean, almost everything you can think of, which is why I train like I train now.
In everything.
Yes, because there's a little bit of everything. You know how many times? So they talk about ground, right? Yes, I've gone to the ground in some fights. Sure. Yes, I have.
Sure.
But the percentage is low.
Really?
Because the street fight for me, in my experiences, and I've had quite a few, movement, fast, aggressive, hard. Yeah. Nobody's like, hey man, hey, I'm gonna. It comes out of nowhere, fast, aggressive, and you got to deal with it. Yeah. So being quick on your feet, being able to move, that kind of stuff, and hitting targets that make somebody. That make a problem for them. Hitting targets that do something.
There's a joke back in the day when I was bouncing, and my roommate at the time in New York City, the joke was this, and what this represented was me pointing at a target and missing the target like entirely, and every time that he would see me or something would happen, he would go, Jerry. Like, I totally missed the punch
right past it.
Oh, right past him. And the guy looked at me and says, with a punch like that, you're taking me on? Then we really went to the ground. Yeah. But it was funny.
So they'll go to the ground, but most of it's,
you're right.
Hardcore moving, you're tripping over stuff, going this way, going that way. The girlfriend's getting in the way or women get in the way, and this comes over here.
And I think that's what happened, by the way, I think that's what happened that day. I think some other guy's shoulder bumped my arm as I was going out. Because there was a melee. Yeah. Somebody bumped my hand and it totally missed this guy's face. And you're right. Yeah. I had no plan B.
Melee is a great word for it. Melee. When it happens in the street like that, especially in a crowded place like a restaurant or a bar or an event, right? Yeah. When it happens like that, there's people everywhere, and you trip over stuff. I mean, and when I say trip, I don't mean you trip and fall to the ground. You're tripping and trying to stay to your feet while you're moving. You might go to the ground, but the times that's happened to me, I get to my feet as fast as I can because movement is life, right? You're stuck in one spot, man, it's not good. Now, one-on-one combat where we're going to go for it, it's just going to be me and you. But how many of those, all through my childhood, their buddies were stomping you out. Yes. Or the other guy
there's somebody hitting you over the head with something.
All through my whole childhood, there's sucker punching coming from their friends and whatever. Yes. There was never like, it started off mono.
Gentlemen.
Yeah. Let's do this. Started off like that, and then all their friends jump in as soon as you get the upper hand, or, maybe not, maybe just because they want to get into it. Yeah. But Napa used to be, to me, it was like when I grew up, it was a fighting town.
Oh, I remember when I got here. Still, the brass rail was still here.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It was like a fighting town. There wasn't there wasn't a lot of weapons.
Guns.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was fist fighting stuff. Yeah. And then I remember it starting to change. Yeah. Yeah. And now it's totally, like I said, there was a couple of days ago 2 gunshots. I think like 4 minutes from my house.
I heard about it.
Yeah, and that's not the only thing that happened. A lot of stuff is happening. So in this day and age, I believe that everybody should own a weapon if they can. If they're legally
learn how to use it.
Yeah, learn. That's the other part. But if you can legally own a weapon, there's some people that do not deserve a weapon, right? I mean, so if they can legally own it, and then they should train with it. Now I've come into like button heads with people who are true Second Amendment people. They're like, nope, it's a God-given right. You get to have a gun no matter if you want to train or not. And I kind of get that argument. I understand it. But, man, it would be so much safer if people trained.
I think,
minimal.
Absolutely.
They have to do minimal training for CCW stuff. Like, so it's 16 hours. Yeah. It's nothing. Yeah. It's nothing. I still feel like I got to keep training. I need to be on top of it. I do close quarter combat with a handgun. And I have a CCW, so when I carry a gun, it changed my way of looking at stuff when I didn't, because I don't want to get in a confrontation with you because I've got a firearm on my hip. Yeah, and that's awful. If that thing popped out on the ground, that's awful. Or something,
something that may have never gone there could end up going there.
I got more to think about now than a fist fight. Yeah, right. And it's actually it's helped my mind kind of process these things, like maybe road rage or something.
How far you let something go, or even engaging. You might not even engage.
That's the one.
To start off. I love that.
There's more of this not even engaging it.
Is that why they say like places like Oregon or places like that people are just friendlier because everybody's caring?
I don't know if that's true or not. I'm sure that
like there's this respect.
I'm sure that stuff's safer because nobody knows that, hey, you mess around, this guy may pull a gun.
Or this lady has something.
Or this lady, I'm not sure about that, but I do know from my trips that I've been taking that it seems like as soon as I get out of California,
Everybody's friendlier.
Everybody's super nice, man.
Yeah, that's a thing.
And then I come back in,
That's a thing.
and you can tell when you're getting close to the border of California.
Oh, you don't get anybody.
When you get close to the state line,
Nobody here waves.
attitude starts changing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, because I stopping at gas stations, and I noticed this on my last trip. I'm like, man, at the last gas station over in, where was I, Arkansas or somewhere, I had a 30-minute conversation with somebody I never knew. I didn't even know. And I come back into California, and I stop at a gas station, and I look at somebody, and they're all, it's like, just crossing the line. I'm like, why? Why?
Yeah. And the nicest thing you can do for somebody else is a smile, man. You give somebody a smile is the coolest thing. And sometimes you just wonder if people here have that capacity.
I made a point after that trip, and that trip was a couple years ago, which I'm going on another one here pretty soon. I made a point in California to smile at everybody I see. Everybody. I don't care.
It's a great habit.
I don't care. I smile at everyone, right? So I'm smiling, and I can't believe, and you get the responses, and I go, they're not going to stop me from doing it. I don't get anything. I get people look right at me and look away. Yeah. I say thank you to people for things or whatever, and they don't say anything. Yeah. They're so rude.
That's interesting.
So probably, I get some smiles. I get a little bit of stuff, but every once in a while, but probably 60, 70% I get nothing.
Well, the only thing that we can do to change that is change ourselves and smile. Keep smiling
That's
at people. I love your attitude with it, man.
Yeah. That's why I said I'm going to keep doing that.
It's helping you.
I'm going to smile.
It's helping you.
Just do it no matter what.
And then again, I always try to give people the pass. It's just what happens when it's every single time. But I like to give people the pass that you never know what they just stepped on that day, or what happened at home or this and that. It's a little disappointing when it's every single time. You're like, oh my God, nobody can actually crack a smile with me.
Everybody having
Is it everybody? Yeah. So.
All right, Jerry.
Can we do this again?
Yes, for sure.
We'll go deeper on the next one, but this is great, man.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you for hanging out with me. This is awesome, bro. That's awesome.
I like talking about it.
You did great. You did great, man.